What's up, riders? Old Man Ronin here. Welcome back to the channel. Well, get ready, guys. It's time for the Royal Enfield Himalayan 1-year review. You know, I thought when I wanted to do this video where I was going to start it. And right now we're on a chip and seal road. And I want to give you a couple of the first impressions that I had back when I first got the bike a year ago. And my first impressions were, man, it was really a good riding bike. And there's a few things I wanted to change and stuff like that. Well, a year later, I've changed my mind on a lot of different things. And the first thing it's changed my mind is how actually comfortable the seat is. You know, and that's one of the things that Iron Lady says every time we go riding together. And you know, if you've seen some of the other videos, we use this as a winery bike more than anything else. And the main reason why, because it does gravel and chip and seal so much easier than any of the other motorcycles that we have. And I mean, plus we've got places we can store the wine in case we buy it, you know. And it does perfect on the roads that the wineries are at. I mean, you're not going to take this bike 100 miles an hour. We all know that. I mean, it's only got a 410cc engine, or 411, excuse me. But the reality of it is, I mean, it does, with two people, 65 miles an hour without much struggle. I mean, that's at the top range of where I'd want it to be. But as far as the bike being a great bike on gravel and chip and seal like we just left, I mean, it's near perfect. And I don't think I'd have any other desire to have any other bike in that kind of realm, because it does so well. It rides comfortably. You know, I'm not a small guy, and my wife and I together are right there at 400 pounds, or over 400 pounds, and it thing, like I say, does 65 without any issue whatsoever. And like I said, I don't know if I want to be running hours upon hours at that speed with two up, but as far as for one person, two up, oh yeah, all day long, all day long. Again, what I like to tell people is, when you're riding a motorcycle that has a smaller engine, or even a big motorcycle, don't ride over 90% of its RPM for more than an hour at a time. In fact, I don't even like to go that long on it. And so what you want to do is look at the red line and drop down 10% of that to where you're at 90%. And I think that'll be a good place for you to ride at. I thought today the first real review piece that I'm going to show you is its limitations. And we're going to get on a 70 mile an hour speed limit highway and just see what happens. How you like that, guys? I turned my turn signal off. Now again, we're on the highway and we're throttling up. There's 6,000 RPM. We're at 45 mile an hour in third gear. Now we're in fourth gear. 5,000 RPM, 55 miles an hour. Let's see, we'll crank her all the way up here and see where she'll go. We're at 60, 5,000 RPM. There's 65, 5,200 RPM. There's 70 mile an hour speed limit, you can see there. There's 70. And we're at 5,600 RPM at 70 mile an hour by myself. There's 72, 73. Right there we're 6,000 RPM at 74 miles an hour with a 230 pound guy on. Now, I'm not going to go 70 mile an hour for very long here because, well, I love my motorcycle. But like I said, we're over 70. We're at 5,800 RPM right now. So the bike does have its limitations. Like I said, I wouldn't want to run at this speed all day long with this little 411cc engine. So as far as a limitation, yeah, this has it at these speeds. Can it do it? Yeah, it can do it. Like I said, my red line's at 6,400. I'm running right now at 6,000 RPM at 75 miles an hour, going up a slight hill. And that's about all I'm going to ask this motorcycle to do. I'm going to slow her back down to around 65. And that drops the speed of the RPM down to 5,000 RPM. Now we're at 60. And I know cars are going to come up and pass me pretty soon here. But the reality of it is the bike will do it. It just isn't good for it. So as far as a motorcycle for the highway, no. If you guys need an ADV bike that's going to ride this kind of stuff all day long, forget about it. Nope, don't do it, because it really is too hard on the little engine. And you know, like I said, I'd like to take care of this little critter, and I just wanted to show you some of the limitations it has. Oh, my mirror got a little messed up, probably from the speed. But I think in its own right, it does as best as it possibly can. And I think one of the first things that I said, I would like to see a little bit bigger engine. I don't know if they're going to put the 650 in this or not. I don't have any privilege information. Would it make it a better bike? As long as I still have that beautiful low-end torque, it would probably be a better bike, because that way you are capable of doing these. But even so, a 650, you're probably going to get maximum speed of about 80 miles an hour out of it anyway, and that's going to be about the limit if they keep the ratio of the transmission similar. But it's really hard to say. Without riding one, I don't know. As far as a bike for the highway, forget about it. It ain't happening. I took the bike there and I felt like I was beating a child, to be honest with you. I just don't think that's the bike for it. Will it do it? Yeah, it'll do it, you know, and I'm sure you can get your grandkids to listen to you too if you whip them hard enough, but that's not the point. Man, it's a hot one today. They're saying the temperatures are going to be 91 with about 50% humidity, and welcome to Ohio in the summertime. But the road we're on right now is why I'd say this bike does one of its best, and that is a curvy, well-paved back road. I mean, it's not a state road. It's a 55 mile an hour road, which it should never be, because there's a lot of corners that are 35 recommended and 20 mile and 15 mile recommended. But this bike handles this kind of road beautifully. And like I say, right now I'm doing 45, and you know, it goes into the corners nice and smooth. It really does perform well. And of course, you know, it's not a sport bike, and I think it's going to do pretty much everything you ask it to do. You know, you do a little trail braking going into the corners and throttle back out, just like any other good performing motorcycle. You're not going to get that high RPM fast snap that you do on a sport bike, or but it's more nice and easy and smooth and controlled. And it's one of the reasons why I mentioned to a lot of people that I think this is a good beginner bike for people, because not only is it smooth and easy, but it's also forgiving. And you can cruise at these back roads. Like I said, I'm running 45 on this road right here, and I could go faster, and I probably will, but I'm running at what, 4,000 RPM at right at 50 mile an hour right now, and I'm taking these nice sloping corners with ease. And this is what this bike does best. I mean, it really does. Well, I shouldn't say best. It's one of the things this bike does best, is cruise these back roads that are well paved and have a lot of curves with ease. And it's going to make you, like I mentioned before, as a brand new biker or a beginning biker, it'll add confidence to you. It'll give you confidence to handle other situations, which we're going to handle here ourselves in a little bit. But the bike does such a good job in these back roads. I I really enjoy riding these roads with this motorcycle. And like I said, it trail brakes nice and easy. I know a lot of people complain about the brakes on this bike, and I just don't understand why that is. They're more than adequate to do what you're going to do. Now, if this was a bike that had a 1000cc or 1200cc engine, that you're going to be going a lot higher speeds, I would say maybe it needs a little brake upgrade, maybe a tube rotor brake in the front. But these, for sloping roads like this, and this beautiful countryside back here in the country, these like I said, these well-paved secondary or third-area, if that's a word, road, where you've got plenty of curves and you know, and lower speeds, man, this is one of the things this bike was built for. Now, if you don't ride this, like back on the highway we just came off of, no, then, you know, stick with a GS or a Multistrada or a KTM or something like that with a bigger engine, that you're going to be able to handle those roads better. But if you like to do this, yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about. Speaking of which, let's change our attitude. This road that we're on right now is what I would consider a backcountry road. And it's a 45-mile-an-hour road, no edge lines, no center line. You're going to get a mixture of chip and seal and blacktop. This is blacktop right here, obviously. But you're going to get a mixture of both chip and seal and blacktop, and it's going to be something that, I don't know what this person's doing. Can I go around you because you're cut? Yeah, thank you. See, that was nice. That's what you get in the country. But you're going to get a mixture of blacktop and not gravel, but blacktop and chip and seal, and you're going to, but it's fun. And again, this is a 35 to 45 mile an hour road that's going to give you lots of beautiful scenery, and this is usually the main type of road that the wineries are on, which is what we love to do so much. You know, breweries are more city oriented, where the wineries are more country oriented, particularly here in Ohio. But this road here, I mean, like I said, no edge lines. You're going to sit in very little traffic. When you do see it, you got to be careful, because a lot of guys and gals like to ride down the middle of the road. Well, you knew it was bound to happen. You knew I was going to get on a gravel road, now didn't you? Well, this road right here is a prime example of what I call the shimmy shimmy shake shake type of road. It does a shimmy shimmy shake. And you can see probably the dancing in my front end. And that's one thing that I want to really emphasize to people when you're riding gravel, maybe for the first time. It's going to want to wiggle around. Don't over grip the bars. Don't overwork the motorcycle. Let it do what it wants to do. Just quietly and softly remind it where you want to go. And with that kind of attitude, you can pretty much go anywhere, and you can ride a little faster than what you think you're able to do. Here I'm doing 35 miles an hour on this road, and we're getting a little bit of the shimmy shimmy shake shake. But again, this is probably what the Himalayan does better than anything else. It does the gravel roads perfectly, and it's I tell you, I can't emphasize enough how much I love this bike. What you're seeing here is the dirt trails, and I decided to do a voiceover as opposed to actually taking you there today, because I've done that so much in the last couple of weeks. So we're going to show you some deer trails and how the Himalayan handles those extremely well. Now, the only issue I've ever had with the Himalayan in some of these back areas is the tires, and that has absolutely nothing really to do with the motorcycle. But I akin it to, you know, like a Jeep Wrangler. They don't sell the Jeep Wranglers with the best off-road tires on it. That's something that the average person, I mean, I talk to a lot of Jeep dealers, and I've talked to a lot of dealers that sell like the GS and the Multistrada, and some of the other ADV style bikes, and it's like 85% never take them on dirt trails. They'll take them, you know, maybe on a gravel road, but they won't take them on a dirt trail, and so they don't necessarily get the best tires right out of the factory. That's something you have to add to yourself, and it's not really a complaint, because it's like that in the Jeep market as well too. That's not the place for it. But as far as how that motorcycle handles the dirt trails, that low end torque is phenomenal for that little engine. I mean, we've got a long stroke single cylinder that is perfect for off-roading. And that's one of the things I like most about it. Now, it's not going to be like a dirt bike, which is a high revving engine that you need 8,000 or 9,000 RPMs to go up a hill. I mean, that's not the place for it. What you need is something that's going to be 3,000 to 4,000 RPM and climb that hill almost walking it. And I say walking it, not necessarily meaning, you know, your feet on the ground like a duck walk, but how it slowly but surely crawls through those off-road conditions, which you're seeing right here. And I think that's one of the places this bike shines. So let's go back to the shop. One of the places this motorcycle shines, and you've noticed it through the different how-tos I've done on it, is its ease of working on. In other words, the last video I did as far as working on the engine is I did an oil change. Now that seems super simple, but there's a lot of people that really don't know how to do it or do it properly. So I'll put a link up in the top there with a card to tell you how to get to my oil change video. But as far as taking the tank off, which I have another video on, as far as changing the oil or adjusting the clutch, or just working on something simple like putting these bars on these bark busters, or the pannier braces, things like that. It's just super simple to work on. You just need a basic set of tools. They do give you a little toolkit, which I think is adequate. I don't depend on that. When I go on a ride for a long distance, I take a separate toolkit in a tool roll where I have all the right stuff. In other words, I mean by right stuff, it's heavy enough to do the work, and you know, I can basically do some quick maintenance on the road if I need to. I always carry extra oil and extra oil filter as well too, because again, heat is the danger of motorcycles. And like I said, with the ease of access of working on this motorcycle, I think it becomes more and more one of my favorites. I mean, you'll notice over here, and I'll quickly give it a little shot, my Toad Glide that we're working on, and it's obviously a work in progress, and it's probably going to take longer than I expected, mainly because of money. I mean, that's not all of us people that have Harley Davidsons have a lot of dollars. What we do have is a lot of experience in working on them, so we buy cheap and rebuild, which is what the essence of the rest of my channel is about with Harley. We buy cheap and we rebuild. Now, this motorcycle I got cheap as well too. I talked earlier about possibly having a 650 engine in this in the future. I would love to see that, just because I think it'll bring more people who are a little hesitant on the 411cc engine into the market. However, I'll never be able to afford one. I don't get stuff for free, guys. I have to buy it, and this I got a fantastic deal on. So a lot less than what you would buy a brand new one for. But it's already, what, this is 2021, and this is a 2018 motorcycle. But as far as ease of maintenance, yeah, this is it, man. This is really easy to maintain. Let's talk about something else. You know, as I was riding around showing you the different roads and what my feelings and thoughts were on those and how the Himalayan handled it, I talked about the handling in general. And I'll tell you, the bike is very nimble for its weight. And I mean that this is not a light ADV bike. If you're looking for a really light ADV bike, this isn't it. Maybe the Honda 250 or something smaller like that will do you better, but you're not going to get on the highway with that either. But for as heavy as this bike is, it's very, very nimble. And I think the heaviness adds to a sense of confidence, particularly on gravel roads and the dirt roads as well too, because you feel a lot more confident with a little bit more stout behind you. Even on the highway, one of the very first videos I ever did was Can It Take It? And we were on the highway and we were following a semi, and the semi then eventually passed us because, you know, we weren't doing 70 miles an hour. But how it handled the wind buffeting, not through the helmet, but the wind buffeting by the turbulence created by the semi, it made me feel comfortable. I mean, I was getting about the same kind of feeling that I do on my Harleys. and that means this heavier weight adds some stability, which in turn adds confidence. So I think that as far as handling and its ability to, you know, go at low speeds and give you confidence, because it does have that weight, particularly on gravel roads and some of the dirt roads and things like that, it gives you confidence because of the added weight that it does have. Something that a lot of people don't talk about. They want to hear about, you know, how light the bike is and things like that. And, you know, in consideration to a Harley, this is extremely light. You guys remember when I decided to get this bike, I was actually going to take my 1200 Sportster and turn it into a Scrambler. But I decided that I was going to spend less money by just buying this one outright and then making it my own, as opposed to turning and spending thousands of dollars on the Sportster, which I turned into a garage queen anyway. But as far as handling and nimbleness, this bike is amazing. It's one of the most nimble bikes that I have. Now, I really love riding my Sportster and my wife's Iron 883. And of course the daughter's Super Low. Those are very nimble as well too, but this one here has, I think it has a little bit better handling. And it does have a very high center of gravity, which is okay, because a lot of the times when I'm standing up in the dirt road situations, that center of gravity kind of equals out. As far as the ease of working on, that includes the ability to put different modifications on it, like I mentioned earlier about these pannier rails, or the turn signal relocation kit, or, you know, simple things like the black bolt kit, or the engine guard, or the pannier, or not pannier, but the crash bar bags, or the phone mount, or the bark busters, or rising the fender up 25 millimeters, you know, things like that. Again, there's the phone mount. But this thing is really easy to work on, and that ease of work, easy of accessibility, parts are a little harder to get because you have to order them from India in most cases, but if you have a little patience, you'll be able to get them as well too without too much problem. One of the things I thought was kind of funny is this side panel broke on the guy that had it before me. You know, this bolt here, this bolt here, and this bolt here comes out. This is like a plug, and it just kind of slipped in a grommet, and I think he tried to force its way out and he snapped it off. Well, I had my near dealer here order me a new one. It was $10. I mean, a cover, and I'll run over here real quick and show you. I had... bear with me. This cover here, which is similar except it's metal, from Harley Davidson on the Sportster, was $125. No! Yeah, go figure. Well, it can't be all sunshine and roses. There are some bad things on this bike that I think could be rectified or eliminated altogether. And the first elimination would be the ambient temperature gauge, because it really doesn't do anything. Where the placement of the sensor is up here under the seat, and I've moved it a couple different places. I didn't do any videos on it because it didn't really work. It's going to show me drastic differences between outside ambient temperature and what the temperature on the meter is showing, and it's worthless. It doesn't need to be there, which is going to bring me to my second point. And this is going to be controversial because it's not on my bike, but it's on the 2021s and a half and some of the other bikes like the Meteor. And that's that little trip gauge, if you will. And I'll put a picture there as well too, like I did for the temperature gauge. On an ADV style bike, you need more information than just a little turn by turn. And I think it's a waste of time. Instead, offer maybe a standard phone mount and a GPS mount that you don't have to buy aftermarket, and that way you can put your Garmin or whatever brand, or your phone or whatever you want to have, and that way you can see an actual map. Because if you're riding off-road, that little, most of those maps that you're going to get in with Google aren't going to show off-road stuff anyway. So it really is not necessary. So those have really got to go. But let me tell you another pet peeve of mine. One of the things that I think is below par is the chain. And I'll tell you, I have to lube this thing up nearly every day. And the reason for that is it literally rusts I mean, constantly. I had somebody comment, man, you need to oil your chain. Dude, I do every frickin' day. I am not kidding you. I do it a lot. The problem is, and I'm not sure if it's this climate or where we live, the fact that I ride year round, but the thing rusts constantly. And that's something that I think that they could do better, is maybe have a higher quality chain. Now, I'm going to be replacing this thing relatively soon because I'm really getting tired of way too much maintenance that I don't have to do. I mean, it's something that I should not have to oil and clean constantly to rid the rust. It just shouldn't be. And so that's another one of my pet peeves. Which brings me to something really close. The foot peg is nearly not wide enough. This thing needs to be at least that far, which means that this shifter lever and the brake lever need to be bigger as well too. I'm not finding any, and if you guys know of any in the comments, please let me know. I need this thing to be at least 2 to 3 inches longer, because when I put my big old feet on this this peg here standing up, I'm way out here, and I have to really arch, particularly when I'm standing up, to get my foot down to shift gears while I'm riding. And that's something that yeah, you've got to be in consideration for folks all over the world. You know, some of us guys with a size 12 American foot, that's a little small. And not only here, but on the other side, and we'll switch over there. Way too close. It needs to be out here a little farther. But those three main things are what really gets my goat, if you know what I'm saying. Well, this one's going to sound a little nitpicky, and it kind of is. But you know, I look at my tank guard here, my crash bars, my engine guard, my pannier rails, and the first thing I notice is they're all black. Why is this bar silver? I mean, it makes no sense. You've got a theme going on here, guys. You know, you know, I want to be a little bit more, what do you call it, uniform. So I think that the bars should be black out of the factory. If you're changing the colors of all this stuff, then match the bars with the colors of all the other stuff, and I think it'd look really pretty. And then maybe the wheels as well too. But you got black rims, you got black crash bars, you got black engine guard, you got black pannier rails, and a silver bar. I'm sorry. But another thing that I'm definitely going to change is I'm actually going to raise the handlebars itself, because when I'm standing up riding, the fact that I'm leaning over so much, and the fact that these shifter levers and the brake lever is so short, it really is a hindrance. It's not quite a deal breaker, but it's daggone close. I really need longer levers, because it's going to make me ride even better. I mean, I love this motorcycle, but there's a few things that absolutely drive me insane, and those are a couple that I've told you already. If I could make a recommendation to Royal Enfield, which they're never going to listen to me anyway, I'm just a small little 8,500, hopefully soon, subscriber channel, and you know, but these little differences I think would make a huge difference, not only in the American and the European market, but South American as well too, because I know a lot of guys down there are fans of the channel who are similar size to me or even bigger, and I think some of these changes as far as the foot pegs and the shift levers and the you know, of course the bar height is going to be something that you're going to do in you know, aftermarket anyway, but make the aftermarket stuff more available. I think those are the kind of things. You know, Harley-Davidson has made a commitment to not go after people to do some aftermarket things. In other words, you can literally build a Harley-Davidson from not one original Harley-Davidson part. And I think that Royal Enfield, in reality, if they want to tackle these bigger markets, well, I shouldn't say bigger markets, because the Indian market is freaking huge, but as far as more of a worldwide market, add some things like that, because we here in particular myself in America, we really like to make the bikes our own. I mean, you notice I've got so many different little modifications to make it my own, and I love each and every one of them. I tell you, I love this this phone mount. The only negative thing I can say is I wish it was a little stouter, and I wish it was anchored more to the front bar here than it would be to the sides. I think it would be better if it was you know, mounted closer to there. That way it could get me a little bit farther away from the windshield.
The windshield is, I mean, it's necessary, I suppose. I know guys are taking them off, or they're putting the taller ones on. I'm happy with the way it is. I was going to put a bigger one on just to protect the camera, but I'm just going to leave it the way it is. I don't really need it. When I put the camera up here, it's completely waterproof anyway, so I don't have to worry about that. But those are some of the things that I have not as much excitement about as what I do other items on the motorcycle. So let's wrap this up. So what's it been like riding the Royal Enfield over the last 12 months? Well, it's pretty much done everything I've asked it to do. We've ridden in snow, and in freezing rain, and in sleet, in regular rain, and in extremely hot temperatures like we have today. I mean, it's what, 90 some degrees today with high humidity. Yeah, that's why I run that 20W50 in this thing, because it didn't crack or pop or make any kind of odd noises after I turned it off. And we rode her pretty hard getting on that highway. You're doing over 70 miles an hour, 75 miles an hour. Yeah, it has the ability to do it. I just wouldn't do it in a extremely long time. In fact, I wouldn't do it more than 25 or 30 minutes maximum. And that's even pushing it. I like to keep this thing under 65 miles an hour. But I've also taken it in gravel roads and dirt roads and deer trails and super highways and back roads and backcountry roads and gravel roads. I mean, this thing has done everything I've asked it to do and more. It's really easy to work on. It's really comfortable. It handles great. Obviously, it's not a sport bike, but it does handle good. Heck, Iron Lady likes riding back here on this rear pillion better than she does on the Deluxe or especially the Sportster. She thinks it's really comfortable. And there's no sissy bar. But this little lip right here gives her enough lock that when we ride that she's comfortable and confident. And that's really what it's all about. This bike instills confidence in any rider, whether you're a beginner or an old timer like myself that's been riding for over 50 years. This bike instills confidence. And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway that you'll ever have. Not only in all weather conditions, but all road conditions, except for super highways. Well, I really hope you enjoyed this video today, guys. If you did, make sure you give us a big thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe, hit that bell notification button, share and comment. You know I read all the comments and comment on as many as I possibly can. We still got the contest going on for the Suparee headlights. Make sure you enter that as well too. Details are in the description below. Well, until next time, guys, ride safe and keep her on two wheels, baby. And stay tuned for year 2.